So now that you've got your keywords identified, we're going to take the next step and identify all the different keyword variants or the different ways people in your field talk about terms like poverty to make sure you've left no stone unturned and you've gotten all the relevant papers on your topic. One of the worst things that can happen is when you submit to a journal down the road, which all of you are going to do, is for a reviewer to come back and say, well, hang on, wait a second. When I talk about poverty, I talk about deprivation, and your search didn't include deprivation, and so you've got a big blind spot. That can lead your paper to get rejected. And so we want to make sure we've anticipated this possibility and done a very, very strong, rich, robust search to ensure that we are robust and defended against this possible criticism. So what we're going to do in this case is we're actually going to open up a Word document. And this is going to be important because you're going to see what we do is write the paper from the inside out. And this is going to make everything simple, linear, and straightforward as you progress to keep track of what you're doing and also feel confident that you have a strong foundation of your paper. So what I want you to do is actually title this methods and pop in your keywords that you've identified. Again, there could be anywhere between 2 to 5, depending on how you've operationalized it in the previous step. So we have, continuing with the poverty example, we have poverty, HIV, and treatment outcomes. What we're going to do is we are going to use our nearest neighbor approach to search for existing systematic reviews that have done the hard work for you, that have gone through and dug deep in the literature and said, okay, these are the best ways to operationalize the search for poverty to make sure that we capture everything. So we're not going to reinvent the wheel here. We are going to stand on the shoulders of giants. As that proverbial phrase goes, we're going to draw on what they've done and bring it to bear on our own search. And of course, it's not plagiarism because we're going to make sure we cite everybody. And this is going to really help us because if anybody has a problem with the way we've searched for poverty, we can say, well, hang on, wait a second. Well, you're going to have a problem with all these other papers because they searched for poverty this way. And that was established independently to have already been validated, robust, and sufficient to merit publication in a high impact journal. Okay, so let's go through and do this. What you're going to want to do for this is go straight into Google Scholar, which I've uploaded here, and search for systematic review, and in this case, poverty, because that's the keyword of interest. We want to find all the variants. You see a lot of different papers, systematic reviews have been done relevant to poverty, as you expect, because you've already forecasted the impact of your topic. You know there's been work done there. And you can see a series of papers. So here's one from the World Health Organization. I want you guys to start with peer-reviewed literature, not reports. There can be exceptions to that, but at least as a starting point, go with peer-reviewed literature. And I can see 2 that look pretty good. Here's one in a nice journal, been cited 1,000 times, so that's probably a pretty good paper to use as a nearest neighbor. And I don't even want you to read this. I want you to have laser-like focus and go straight into the methods. So here we go, methods, and you can see they've done the heavy lifting for you. Those for capturing poverty-related studies included all these terms. You're just going to strip these out, and you're going to copy it straight into your Word document for poverty. So let's go ahead and make sure we take the article citation, pop that in there. And the other thing we want to take is the databases that they searched. We searched Medline, EconLit, and PsycInfo. Okay, that's great. So now I know what words they searched, what databases they used, and what the study was so I can cite it later. I'm going to want you guys to use at least 2 databases. These databases have a lot of overlap. For example, Web of Science and PubMed, they're 2 examples. They overlap by about 97%. So as you get more and more databases, you'll start to get diminishing returns. You may not know already which databases you want to use and are going to be key for your search. It's going to vary by field, right? In health, you're probably going to include PubMed. In education, you're probably going to include things like Web of Science and EBSCOhost. But you're going to know for sure by looking at what databases have been searched in these other reviews that have been highly cited and are well established in the field. So let's look at one more and come back here in our search. And here's a good one in +1. And again, I don't want you to spend too much time on it. You're just swooping in and out, getting the relevant details. Now, this is a good example because if you go to the methods, you'll see they don't list it here. They list the databases, so let's go ahead and take that. And just as we go along, okay, we've got our databases from the second paper, and let's get the citation so we don't forget. Okay, got the citation for the databases searched. Okay, but we can see that they've actually published the details in an appendix. So let's go straight here. You sometimes have to dig a little bit to find that appendix. Got it here, and that's going to open up a Word document. Let's check that out. Okay. This search string, this is a level of detail that you're going to have in your search to make it possible for others to reproduce and replicate what you've done. so that they can all follow the same steps you did and get to the exact same result. It's very important, and that's what separates us and sets us apart as scientists. So see here, they've searched for developing countries for their population. We don't want that now, that's not relevant. Here we can see how they've operationalized poverty. So I can see 1, 2, and maybe right here, the main ways that they've operationalized this. So I'm just going to capture a couple. Don't worry, you see some of the Boolean logic here, or TIAB. These are aspects about the search. We're going to come to that later. Just copy, strip it, and copy and paste it in right now to your search to keep track of everything. Okay, so I'm going to come here and let's go back, and we'll just get this term here. And you want to be thorough doing this. And this is going to help you to see as you look across these papers, you're going to see, well, hang on, wait a second. They actually looked, okay, poverty and poverty, those are the same, but they also used economic disadvantage, where these guys didn't. Or, for example, they used social rank, and these guys didn't. And you're going to actually end up with a better search than either of these other two papers because you've been so comprehensive and thorough in the way you've approached this. So I'm just going to, again, do some labeling here to keep track of everything. Databases searched. And you can also see the databases they searched, they overlap, but this other paper has gone in even more detail. And that might help you if you want to add more databases. Again, I suggest 2 is really the minimum for it to be acceptable. If you want to do more than that, fantastic, but at least 2. Okay, we're going to go through in later steps these keyword variants. Sometimes these can cast such a broad net, you start getting many articles that are not relevant. We're going to teach you about type 1 and type 2 errors, and how to optimize your search to not get too many irrelevant things, but also make sure you're not missing things that you really need to catch. So don't worry about that terminology now. It's all going to be explained in the coming videos. What I want you to do in the worksheet is then, I'm not going to go through now what HIV and treatment outcomes. Again, you're not going to just make these up yourselves. You guys are going through our training here, and you're going to use these techniques that you're just not going to have found taught anywhere. I've never seen this taught in a book. This is the only place that you're really going to find it, and that's because you're getting the shortcut from decades of our experience doing systematic reviews and publishing in high-impact journals. And this is important. I have a student, Mohammed, who did a recent systematic review on COVID and migration. And the reviewers came back and said, well, hang on, I'm not sure this migration term has really captured all the terms for migration because it's talked about in different ways in the US and UK. Mohammed could come back and say, well, hang on, I actually anticipated that. And if you go in detail and look at my search string, I've actually operationalized everything. I've captured it all. And the reviewer was happy with that because we had anticipated that common concern and could address it in a very strong way. And the paper went on for publication in a high impact journal. So definitely this is an important step to get right. The worksheet is going to be asking you to use this nearest neighbor match method for each of your keywords to identify the citation, the databases, and the search string for each keyword. Pop it through, and once you've done that, we're going to be ready to go on to the next video where we're going to roll up our sleeves and actually start searching the major databases and operationalizing these keywords and begin to combine them in our full search to get the articles we want to analyze later. Look forward to seeing you in the next video and checking out your worksheet.